Get ready to step into a nightmare world, a one-way ticket into the most dangerous age humanity has ever faced. Forget safety. Forget being the apex predator. In this journey, we return not to the age of dinosaurs, but to something far more recent and infinitely more terrifying, 200,000 years ago. At that time, we were nothing more than a fragile experiment of evolution. Homo sapiens had just emerged, a spark of life flickering in a world ruled by giants. We weren't hunters, we were prey. The earth itself seemed hostile, as if it wanted us gone. Every sunrise was uncertain, every shadow was a threat, and every night survival was a miracle. This is the untold story of how we survived, how we rose from prey to predator, how we became human. If you're ready to step into this dangerous past, fuel our journey. Leave a like, share with fellow explorers, and subscribe to Extinct Doc so you don't miss what's next. The world of ice and fire. Earth 200,000 years ago was a planet of violent extremes. Glaciers crushed continents beneath kilometers of ice. The northern hemisphere froze under endless winters. And yet Africa, the cradle of humanity, was no paradise. It was a brutal land of extremes, where climates flipped without warning. One generation could be born into a green paradise of rivers and forests. The next would inherit endless deserts where survival was almost impossible. Mega-droughts turned savannas into wastelands for thousands of years. Then the rains returned, filling Sahara valleys with lakes and rivers, creating lush hunting grounds. This cycle of chaos forced humans to move, adapt, or die. Rivals in the shadows. And we weren't alone. The planet was alive with rivals, other kinds of humans. Neanderthals thrived in Europe and Asia, powerful and stocky, built for the Ice Age. Their wide noses warmed the frozen air, their bodies perfect for hunting mammoths and bison head-on. In Asia, the mysterious Denisovans survived, a people we know only from fragments of DNA. On distant islands, the last populations of Homo erectus may have still clung to survival, an ancient shadow of humanity's past. We, Homo sapiens, were the newest, weakest, and least proven of them all. But evolution had given us one hidden advantage, something invisible but deadly: our minds. Humanity 1.0. Fossils show that our bodies were already modern. Slender, long-legged, built for distance running under the blazing African sun. Our brains were already as large as today's, but not yet fully wired. We were a work in progress, humanity version 1.0. But even in that unfinished state, our minds were dangerous. While other species relied on muscle, claws, or speed, we relied on imagination. That became our greatest weapon. A world of monsters. Africa at the time was a death trap. Imagine walking barefoot into this battlefield. Saber-toothed cats, as large as lions, waited in tall grass, capable of killing with one crushing bite. Giant hyenas, double the size of today's, with bone-crushing jaws, fought for every carcass. Crocodiles longer than buses lurked in rivers, ready to drag humans under without a sound. Buffalo with horns 3 meters across patrolled the plains like living tanks. Elephants and rhinos were larger and more aggressive than anything alive today. Against them, we were weak. No claws, no fangs, no armor, just fragile flesh and brittle bones. On the surface, it looked like we had no chance. The first revolution. And yet, we survived. How? Not through brute strength, but through something far more dangerous: innovation. Our ancestors began shaping stone with vision and precision. Instead of simply breaking rocks into sharp edges, they imagined tools before they even struck the first blow. With careful planning, they struck a core of stone to release blades perfectly shaped for hunting. This was the levallois technique, an early form of engineering. And they didn't stop there. They discovered fire could change stone itself. By heating a poor-quality rock under controlled flames, they transformed it into sharper, stronger blades. This was chemistry, hundreds of thousands of years before the word even existed. The birth of culture. But perhaps the greatest revolution wasn't in weapons. It was in meaning. We painted our bodies with ochre, not only as sunscreen or glue for tools, but as symbols. We wore shells as necklaces. We carved patterns into stone. These were the first sparks of art, identity, and culture. It was no longer just about survival. It was about who we were. For the first time, humans looked at the world and saw not just danger, but meaning. Life on the edge. Daily life was brutal. Groups were small, perhaps 20 to 30 individuals, wandering the savannas in search of food and water. Cooperation was their shield. Hunting required patience, teamwork, and planning. Instead of confronting prey directly, they used terrain, traps, and projectiles to outsmart their enemies. Women gathered plants, roots, and shellfish, holding an encyclopedia of ecological knowledge in their minds. On the South African coast, they mastered the oceans, timing tides to collect nutrient-rich shellfish, fuel for the growing brain. At night, life centered around the fire. Fire was warmth. Fire was safety. Fire was a fortress of light in a world of predators. Around it, humans shared food, repaired tools, told stories, and passed down the wisdom that allowed the next generation to survive. Our greatest weapon. But above all, survival depended on one thing: each other. Unlike Neanderthals, who relied on sheer power, we thrived on cooperation. We protected the weak. We healed the injured. Even a wounded hunter remained valuable, because his mind carried knowledge too precious to lose. We did not win because we were stronger. We won because we were smarter. We won because we stood together. The making of us. 200,000 years ago, we were just one more fragile species confined to Africa, outnumbered by predators and overshadowed by rival humans. The odds were against us, and yet from those brutal beginnings, we developed tools, symbols, and bonds that set us apart. We survived not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we were the most adaptable, cooperative, and imaginative. The brain you were using to hear this story was forged in those fires of survival, shaped by fear, sharpened by necessity, and illuminated by the glow of campfires under prehistoric skies. This is how we became human. This is how we inherited the earth. So, what do you think mattered most in our survival? Our tools, our art, or our unity? Let us know in the comments. And if this journey reshaped how you see our past, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Extinct Doc. Together, we'll keep uncovering the greatest story ever told, the story of us.